I get requests, believe it or not. Most of them are from Mormons to shut up and get off of YouTube. But I do get now and then a few legitimate requests. And one of them that came to me was just something quick on the word of wisdom. And you know me, nothing is quick. Oh, God. Okay, the word of wisdom. Okay, for those of you that are not Mormons, and most of my hits, I guess, are Mormons, and they're out of Utah, and you want to know about the word of wisdom. Okay, the word of wisdom started, Joseph Smith had the mansion house in Nauvoo, and his wife, Emma, was there. And was a Fanny Auger. I think Joseph was going to adopt out of Canada. She came down to live with the Smiths and brought her money from her trust fund. And Joseph was supposed to take care of this orphaned child. Her parents had basically died. Well, she brought her money down, and sure enough, Joseph took her money. Then he took her virginity. And Emma caught these two in bed. Emma was not a happy camper, and she broomed the child out of the house. All right. Well, anyway, I've been in the mansion house, and it's just a big square, old-fashioned building, but it has 2 stories. And the upper part of this building, Joseph used for, the School of the Prophets and the first temple endowments and other religious. I think the church was organized up there on April 6th with whatever it was, 6 or 8, 10 people. And what happened is the Mormon men chewed a lot of tobacco. I guess a lot of guys did in those days, but the Mormon men were no different. And they had a spittoon up on the 2nd floor. And Joseph, I guess, received a revelation from Moroni or somebody that Emma was to clean the spittoon. Now that's probably worse, maybe equal to a toilet. Well, Emma has always been, cooperative and sweet and kind. And she chose to tell Joseph Smith to put the spittoon where the sun don't shine. So Joseph realized he was going to have to clean the spittoon. So what he did is Jesus again came to Joseph Smith with a revelation and told him that there was not to be any more use of tobacco. Well, I guess they got rid of the spittoon, and Emma was happy, and, happy wife, happy life. And so then Joseph added to the word of wisdom. Now, the word of wisdom was just simply a word of wisdom at the beginning of the church. I think it was Brigham Young who made it a commandment. But anyway, the word of wisdom as originally written, just to the best of my memory, because... Anyway, was that you're not to have any hot drinks. Well, I don't know why you can't drink cocoa. I don't know why you can't have a little Campbell's chicken noodle soup. And I don't know why you can't have, apple cider heated at the Christmas time. But the Mormons say, and again, see, these are things they don't write. They're under the table. That's why they hate me. That's why they hate me in my videos and why they click on my ads inappropriately and try to shut me down. So the hot drinks now, the Mormons say, well, that's coffee. People shouldn't drink coffee. But then you have a piece of the Mormons that go, well, it was coffee because of the caffeine, but it's not tea. So the Mormons basically believe you can drink tea and have a hot chocolate and have chicken noodle soup, but the commandment says there's no hot drinks. Okay, and so that was why Mormons don't drink coffee, because they're also paying tithing and they can't afford to buy coffee. Well, then it said you were to eat meat sparingly. Okay, now there wasn't refrigeration. Oh God, it might have been in the big cities, but there wasn't in Nauvoo. I don't think there was any electricity in Nauvoo during Joseph's time there. So, excuse me, they put into the word of wisdom that you're not to eat meat, but only sparingly. Well, now the Mormons say, well, that was in there because there was no refrigeration. If you tried to keep meat, you would die. Well, I don't know if they ever heard of salting meat. Men have eaten meat for centuries. But anyway, that's the Mormon word of wisdom. And that you're to eat grains in their season. So if wheat doesn't grow in Utah in the winter, which it doesn't, you're not allowed to have bread. It has to be in season. Well, the Mormons go, screw that. We're not going to live that either. And that the promise of the word of wisdom is that you will walk and not be faint, and that you'll be, I'm just paraphrasing, walk and not be weak, and that you'll be strong, basically, and healthy. Okay, that's close enough. Well, why is Utah the #1 state in the United States in obesity? Are the Mormons living their own laws? You tell me. These things don't make sense to me. Maybe to a Mormon, they make sense because the left side of the brain has been sucked away. There is no common sense there anymore. Only tapes on the right side of the brain saying, shut his ads down. He's an evil man. He's from Satan. Well, whatever. So, the other thing that I was just going to mention in the word of wisdom here, I've lived the word of wisdom my whole life. Now, I'm chubby. Well, I'm fat now. I'm fat now because I'm diabetic. And, God, when you shoot insulin, sometimes you miss and you get so hungry you just eat like a pig. And as you get older, you don't have as many calories that you burn. But anyway, if you're 28 and you weigh 300 pounds, you're probably not living the word of wisdom. The other thing, the word of wisdom said nothing about prescription drugs. Maybe it should have for the Utah women. Prescription drug addiction and abuse is #1 in the state of Utah. We're happy people, but we're taking the Valium, the Prozac, and the Zoloft and whatever. So these things don't make sense to my mind. I've started picking up some common sense after I got out of the church for half a century. So the word of wisdom, do they live it themselves? No. Not even close to it. Now, here's the other strange thing. In Utah, you're not allowed to smoke almost anywhere. Utah smoking laws are some of the stiffest in the United States. You can't smoke in any buildings at all. And if you're going to smoke, you have to go outside in the cold and in the snow and rain. And you must be 25 feet away from any entrance or windows that go into the building, so the other Mormons don't have to smell your smoke. So secondhand smoke is such a dangerous thing, I guess, that Utah has some very, very stringent laws on smoking. Now, the alcohol laws, again, Utah is #3 in child abuse. And as a social worker, many times I've seen child abuse associated heavily with alcoholism. And in Utah, you can't go to the store and buy alcohol. Basically, you have to go to a Utah private government store. And you go in there and you feel, a little self-conscious. You're going to buy a bottle of wine or some vodka or something. And they're only open on certain hours. And Utah loves the tax money from those Utah state liquor stores. But again, Utah has probably, well, I'm saying probably because I haven't read the statistic, but above average alcohol consumption too. And the Mormons will say, well, that's not us. That's the non-members drinking. Well, whatever. The point of this video is the word of wisdom is one of the commandments that you have to live to get a temple recommend. Well, how can you get a temple recommend when you're 300 pounds and you got 7 kids? Is the bishop blind? Does he look over and say, gee, you must be living the word of wisdom a lot? So they ignore that. They give these fat men and women temple recommends because the word of wisdom is a law, but you don't have to obey it. So again, it's selective enforcement by the church for temple recommends. And you don't have to look very far in Utah. Just take a trip up here sometime or drive around and go into Walmart or go into Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever and take a look at the women. They're fat. They're fat. They're number, one in obesity. So how are they living the word of wisdom? But they force the word of wisdom on the non-members. You can't smoke. You can't drink. You can't get a drink most of the time in restaurants. There's some restaurants that you can get a drink in. So be that as the truth. I'm fulfilling the request of one of my comment people of doing the word of wisdom. That's what I know about the word of wisdom. That's what I observe here in Utah as far as how people live it. So there it is, the word of wisdom.